Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Right, so we do have full announcement for Alliance War Season 31 and I'm gonna do my best to break it down as kind of simple as possible. So first things first, very important, they are in fact extending off season by 2 weeks, which means that the Season 31 should be starting right around 5th of January. And the stated reason for that here is the holidays, and I'm sure that a lot of people are actually going to be happy by this. Some people are indifferent. For most part, I am always somewhat annoyed when the seasons get delayed, but I know a lot of people do find it extremely inconvenient to do Alliance War during Christmas and during New Year's and things like that. So, good news for a whole bunch of you. It's going to make it easier to kind of celebrate the holidays. Right. First minor thing is that we're going to get a preview button, which, is take it or leave it. There we go. We're going to get a preview button. Right. Then moving on, the big change that we already knew is coming, but now we got the details of it. We're going to get attacker bans. Now, attacker bans will not work as advertised. Surprise, surprise. Because they will actually be shared by all 3 battle groups, which initially they were told or said to be set per battle group. So each battle group could ban 3 different attackers. No, this time around, you will be banning 3 attackers, and all 3 battle groups will have the same bans in effect. And then, as you are going to be entering your war and planning for it, you're gonna have it kind of clearly displayed which champions have been barred before you are able to enter. And this is a controversial change. Some people love it, some people hate it. As far as for me personally, I'm willing to give it a go, see how it changes things. There are already quite a lot of speculations which champions will get banned more often than others. Kitty Pryde could be one, Ghost could be one. Then, if it wasn't for High Ground, I think Human Torch would be a perfectly popular choice. Times it could be Mr. Fantastic or White Magneto even, because those pre-fights do provide a significant amount of support. So it's going to be interesting to see which champions kind of get banned more frequently. Definitely will have to keep an eye out for that, but there we go. 3 attacker bans shared for all of the Alliance, which will be selected by the officers as normal. So regular members do not have to do anything in regard of that. Next point of update, we do have new defensive tactic. However, interestingly enough, even though we do have a new defensive tactic, it is not going to be set for hardest map. It will be as one of the options for like tiers 5 and 4, where you can select whichever defensive tactic you're using. But for the hard map, for the tier 1, this defensive tactic will not be in play, but it's still worth taking a look at it. Every 20, 15, 10 seconds, so it depends on which level, the defender will trigger a 3-second armor up buff, granting 0 armor rating. Whenever the defender triggers armor buff, 30% chance to trigger an unstoppable passive for 3 seconds. This unstoppable is unaffected by ability accuracy, while unstoppable defenders are stun immune. So it does sound very finicky, I'm not gonna lie. When I read it, there is very little that I like about this tactic. And I don't know. Well, I would say that first we need to play through it, but I'm not even going to get a chance to play through this defensive tactic at the moment. And, more unstoppable. That's exactly what everybody wants, right? So either way, slow champions will probably see quite significant uptake in their use. But, yeah, I'm not a big fan of it, especially because it's 30% chance, so it's going to be like 1 out of 3 times. You can never really guess, and then they go stun immune, and if you just parry them, they're going to shrug that parry off. It just sounds very annoying. Right, so tactics by map. Now, power down replaces slow your roll, which realistically, in tier 1, I do not remember a single war when that attack tactic actually mattered. I think the entire concept of attack tactics and defensive tactics, for that matter, is just bad. Is not being really used. Obviously, on defense, you do kind of tend to try and use those defensive tactics as much as you can, but at large, a good defender is a good defender, and a good attacker is a good attacker. You're not gonna be not using Doctor Doom, but bringing in some, I don't know, Sasquatch or whatever, just to have access to like that attack tactic, pretty much ever. So I think so far the attack tactic plan has been a huge flop, but we'll see. Maybe with this power down, it could come into play, and maybe it actually will make some sort of impact, but slow your roll definitely did not. On the same note, we are still keeping high ground, which everybody hates. That is a defensive tactic that's effectively designed just to eat up potions. It doesn't change the fight in pretty much any way. It just limits the champions that you are allowed to bring in. And even if you follow the requirements, it doesn't result in the fight being altered in any specific way, aside from the fact that you're going to be taking a lot more block damage and you're going to be using a lot more potions, which is the definition of kind of tactic that I dislike, because there's nothing good that comes out of it in being in play. It doesn't make you play smarter, per se. It doesn't change the fight or make it more interesting. It just makes war more expensive. Absolutely hate high ground, and can't wait for it to go and never come back. Right, so for Challenger map, again, you can pick one of the 3 tactics as you could before, and now you're going to have the Unstoppable Armor as one of your options. There are some node changes as well. So there are the so-called mini-boss changes. So we're going to take a look at those first. Let's just slide on all the way to the left. Node 19. We have Steady Build-Up Fury being replaced by Ebb and Flow Knockdown. Heavy Hitter changed to Power Focus 1, and Power Alternator changed up to Bubble Shield. This one actually I think I like better. That Power Alternator always is a dodgy node that I'm never a fan of. And yeah, no, I think I prefer this new Node 19. Then in Node 20, we're getting rid of Strike Counter Fury. No, we're not actually getting rid of it. We're keeping it. We're getting rid of Armor and Power Drain and replacing it with Masochism, Hit Me, I Dare You, and Static Defense, which does sound more annoying. Encroaching Stun is finally gone from Node 26. Instead of that, we get Window of Opportunity Stun, which I kind of look at more or less equal change. If anything, maybe the new node combination is a bit more attractive to me personally. I just am not entirely sure what effective defense does, but passive heal block. So they're keeping on the trend of adding more heal block to the war map, which obviously is not a welcome change either. And node 51 is getting changed from Hurt Locker to Combat Deja Vu Prowess. Power Focus 1 is going away to Prowess Puncture. I'm not entirely sure what Prowess Puncture does. And Special 1 to Conflictor 3. Power Drains removed. So overall, more or less neutral, slightly harder maybe. And then we are seeing changes in Path 6, which I actually really like. Path 6 was one of those paths that, no matter who was on there, all of the fights were quite annoying and quite stressful at times. So they're getting rid of Aggression Fury, replacing it with Combat Deja Vu Prowess and Prowess Puncture again. And they're most importantly getting rid of Rage on node 28. I really don't like Rage fights, to be honest. But there's going to be some more unblockable shenanigans going on. And they're kind of giving this Path 6 a new identity where most of the nodes have to do with promises and like hard hitting specials and stuff like that. Now, another thing that I do not like is Hard Knock Life, though. I don't like Disorient and any node that has to do with it. And perhaps the most important changes will be with a new hazard shift node. Now, we do know that hazard shift, poison, incinerate has been pretty much enough to grant certain champions more popularity than they otherwise would have. And this is going to be quite an interesting change as well, where now we're going to have hazard shift, shock, and bleed in section 2 of path 9. So path 9 is going to be full-on hazard shift, where we're going to have to deal with poison, incinerate, shock, and bleed, which is kind of funny, interesting for the most part, because the comments that they make here is that they found that the old path 9 was too diverse in what counters needed, and that most of the time path 9 was split in between 2 different summoners each war. And then thinking logically, if you need to cover 4 immunities and 4 different matchups, then what they have done here probably increased the chance that path 9 is going to be split in between 2 different summoners all the time, because I'm not sure how likely you are going to enter the war with a setup of poison and incinerate immunity and then shock and bleed immunity. At the very least, there is no logical reasoning for them to cross over in many circumstances, aside from, special debuff shrug of champions if matchups allow it. But all in all, basically there are some changes to path 6, path 9, and some mini boss fights. We have new defensive tactics that we do not get to play with. Offensive tactics changing, and attacker bans are becoming a thing. And that is about it. That's all you kind of need to know about Season 31. Again, starting in January 5th, I believe. So we have still quite a lot of time to kind of get used to all the changes and everything else. Hopefully they actually implement all the changes quite early on so we can play in off-season and practice. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think about attacker bans, about the changed nodes, and anything else war-related. Hopefully next season we'll actually be able to go the distance and doesn't have to finish up early. Alright, that is it for now, and I'll see you guys soon. Laters. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the